High School DxD, A New Satan Chapter 8. m.webnovel.com. Capital City of Lucifod, House Lucifuge Manor. What are your opinions on this attack against the Phoenix? A middle-aged man with short silver hair and goatee, red eyes and wearing exquisite black and gold robes. The man was the current Lord Lucifuge, Alcor Lucifuge. Our forces will no doubt crush those rebel scum. A handsome young man with similar features to the Lord, long silver hair tied in a braided hairstyle, red eyes, wearing a silver robe with detailed accessories. Euclid Lucifuge, current heir to Extra House Lucifuge and a known devotee of the Satans. Sigh and Eugraphia, the Lord Lucifuge asked as he looked at his eldest child following the disappointing answer of his heir. The eldest child was Graphia Lucifuge, a breathtakingly beautiful young woman with back-length silver hair that features a long braid on each side with small blue bows at the ends, while the rest is let down which ends in twin braids, red eyes, a perfect body, wearing a black shirt covered in open silver robe, with black pant and leather boots. If the forces sent cannot take the Phoenix forces down quickly, then the situation may escalate should the Satans take action personally. She carefully answered as she kept her expression completely neutral. But elder sister, there's no chance that those weaklings could stand up to us. Euclid said as his gaze wandered over his beloved sister. Elaborate Graphia, Lord Lucifuge simply stated. The Phoenix are famous exactly for being difficult to put down, and since neither I nor Euclid are to be deployed, while the Satans deem the situation below them, I believe that their allies may intervene should things take too long. She explained while the two basically ignored Euclid. Ah, you believe the rumors regarding the power of the Cetri heir or maybe the ones pertaining Circex? Her father said as he realized what his daughter was omitting. Meanwhile Euclid's jaw and fists clenched at the thought of his beloved sister meeting with another man. Yes, should Circex appear, none will be able to stand in his way. She coldly stated as if it was an absolute fact. Then let us hope for a quick victory, hummed the Lord Lucifuge as he agreed with her statement. There is a reason he had Graphia observe the man during the last few decades after all. He was far too powerful to be left unmonitored, and any other would be detected far too easily. The meeting between the three main members of House Lucifuge ended as the three retired to their own rooms. Euclid refuses to grow beyond his blind loyalty to the Satans while Graphia closed her heart due to her duties as my daughter. I worry for them, Lord Lucifuge thought as he made his way to his study. That damn insect buzzing around my beloved sister. I will take care to squash him so she never gets besmirched. Euclid thought as his obsession ran wild. Circex, I am sorry, Graphia sadly thought as she stamped out the sadness she felt when thinking of the red-haired man she had come to know. House Phoenix Border Defenses. Is everything ready? The Lord Phoenix asked as he went over the plans they had come up with once their spies and informants confirmed the Satans would attack this night. Yes, my lord, all the defenses are activated and the troops ready, the general of the Phoenix answered through his fully armored body. Good, now they have to take down the fortress to get through. This is the best money can buy after all, Lord Phoenix said as he thought about how expensive these forts had been way back when his grandfather had them built. How about our supplies? Fully stocked with supply routes prepared. Our cache of Phoenix tears has also been properly secure. The general answered dutifully. Excellent. Now what about our request for reinforcements? The Lord then asked as he knew he couldn't take on two houses indefinitely. Hold them off for a very long time, yes, but they didn't have enough top-tier fighters to truly win. But if they brought some real powerhouses, then they would fall quickly. A few days at most. Ultimates were called that for a reason after all. It isn't optimal, my lord. The general answered with some dissatisfaction. They've stated that reinforcements would take at least 5 days to properly reach us and that the aces are in their own lands preparing their armies for the offensive. That's not ideal, the Lord Phoenix said as he frowned in thought. Any new on which houses will be attacking? We managed to purchase information indicating that houses Flirty and Balaam will be there, but some have said they are not the true leaders this time. We haven't been able to confirm if this is simply a rumor or not. The general answered as best he could. Damn. Had to be Balaam. Let's hope their lord doesn't come or we might not last long. Lord Phoenix responded as he swept his hand through his blonde hair in anxiety. He was confident and proud of his house, but sometimes one has to be realistic. The Phoenix have become far more mercantile in nature than during the Great War, with this affecting the priorities they held as a house. As a result, The personal might of himself and those under him has focused more on protecting their interests than growing stronger, leaving House Phoenix without any sort of powerhouses. Sure, they had plenty of soldiers and guards, but they would only serve to slow down a truly strong opponent or become sacrifices to hopefully take one down. We can only hope, my lord. House Balaam's natural strength is perfect for breaking through defenses, and we can only prepare for the worst and hope for the best. House Flirty, on the other hand, is much more manageable. Although their ability to manipulate the weather is annoying, it is a lot easier to counter. The general laid out as he spoke from experience. Then let's get to it, Lord Phoenix simply said as the general saluted and took his leave. 3 days later. Cover the left side, incoming water bolts, raise your shields. Aerial units, stop those bastards. Erg, my arm, Clee, no. Shit, the BALAMS are charging again. Damn, take command while I keep them busy, ordered Lord Phoenix as he flew towards the charging party of Balaam descendants, which included the heir. Luckily for him, it seemed like the Lord Balaam hadn't been spotted yet, but his heir was certainly proving annoying to deal with himself. Stand aside, Lord Phoenix, we must break through no matter what, said the Balaam heir, Dorandon Balaam, as he saw the Lord Phoenix in his path once again. Dorandon was like most Balaams, a large muscular young man with almost rock-like gray skin, light gray eyes, and without any hair. He was also naked from the waist up due to his skin being a form of natural armor. And I can't let you do that. You're a good kid, why are you fighting for them? The Lord Phoenix responded as he saw that the young Balaam heir was reluctant to fight him in his house, but seemed to be cornered into doing so. Because I have to, he grimly answered as he started his attack. The fight between the two was one of endurance. It had not been the first time they fought, but the Lord Phoenix's experience allowed him to maintain his advantage when faced with the Balaam heir, even while neither could truly harm his opponent. Phoenix had their immortality and Balaam had their natural defenses. Lord Phoenix would try to breach his skin using his flames, while Dorandon struck his foe only for any injury to heal in moments. While the two fought, the Flirty army struck towards the Phoenix defenses as lightning bolts crashed down from the sky, taking down surprised defenders as a new charge began. Damn, the frustrated Lord Phoenix muttered as he was helpless to assist his people and could only watch as the invaders gained a decisive advantage with that move. I do not wish for you or yours to be harmed, Lord Phoenix. The Satans will certainly keep you alive due to your tears, so please surrender. The Balaam heir stoically said. If I surrendered, then I wouldn't be much of a lord, and a Phoenix's pride is not to be trampled upon, was the response as the Lord's flames rose up and struck his opponent with even more vigor. During their fight, however, a massive portal suddenly opened from behind the invading forces, causing the defenders to fear the worst, only to find two figures flying out of it. Every devil could easily see them thanks to their race having much better senses than humans. The first was a figure any Balaam house member would instantly recognize, the current Lord Balaam, Turok Balaam. One of, if not the largest lord in Underworld, respected for his immense physical strength and his power as an ultimate class devil. Like his son, he had rocky gray skin but bluish eyes, and most shockingly he was missing his left leg and arm. Accompanying him was an almost equally large figure with translucent wings and wearing a set of black plate mail armor with purple accents and deep purple cape. Think Ain's armor from Overlord when he was being an adventurer, but with purple. Looking around the battlefield, Lord Balaam spotted his son mid-combat with Lord Phoenix. Dorandun, you little shit, I told you to not be a coward. A seemingly enraged Lord Balaam roared out as his voice traveled the entire battlefield, making the fighting actually stop to look at the source. Father, arg, the Balaam heir immediately stopped when he heard his father. Unfortunately, he had been exchanging blows with Lord Phoenix and his opponent hadn't really noticed and blasted him with fire. Sorry about that, kid, Lord Phoenix said as he realized the situation was about to change. Don't be, that fool deserved a good smack. I'll give him a few more once this fight is over, the very loud Lord Balaam said as he floated above the two. What in the world happened to you, Lord Balaam? The Phoenix asked as he realized the very sturdy man he had feared would invade his home, was in fact missing two of his limbs. Those bastards who call themselves Satans ordered me to come and pledge to their cause, told them their cause was stupid, they didn't like that so they cut off my arm and leg, then blackmailed that little shit to join them after I told him to not listen. He casually answered as if losing an arm and leg was no big deal. Admittedly they could be healed, but it would take time and a very good healer. All troops of House Balaam, crush those Satan-loving bastards, Turok shouted, causing the tide to instantly turn around for the Phoenix after the Balaam troops overheard their lord's explanation as to why he had disappeared and returned wounded. "And who's your friend?" Lord Phoenix asked curiously as he noted the still open portal and the black-armored devil above them. "My benefactor and soon yours as well," Lord Balaam answered with a vicious smile. It was at that moment a voice rang out throughout the battlefield, but unlike the Lord Balaam it wasn't a loud roar or shout, it was calm but heavy. "All troops, advance," the Black Devil said. At that moment thousands of armor-clad devils rushed out of the portal and his ground troops charged in a wedge formation and began slaughtering the flirty troops, while the aerial ones began casting spells in teams and crushing any resistance in their paths through teamwork and power. The final group was in fact specialized in long-range combat and support as they formed shields and barriers to protect their comrades, acted as combat medics and artillery. All of them were also clad in black and purple, with a house symbol neither lord could actually recognize. Black and purple because those are the colors I mainly associate with space. Image here, this but purple. What are you idiots waiting for? Drive those flirty bastards out of our lands. The Lord Phoenix ordered his stunned troops, causing them to roar out for bloody revenge for their fallen comrades. The battle became completely one-sided as the combined forces of two pillar houses and their mysterious reinforcements were crushing the flirty army. The two lords decided to join their benefactor up in the sky as he watched the slaughter impassively. "I thank you for your timely arrival," Lord Phoenix said as he approached the armored devil. I thank you for letting me handle my stupid son as well as saving me." Lord Balaam followed up with, "If one wishes for devils to continue living as a race, much less as a faction, then standing with those against those arrogant fools is the obvious Lord Phoenix, of course I would help when I could. As for you Lord Balaam, I actually have a soft spot for a house who knows the value of physical strength." "No offense intended Lord Phoenix," the armored devil said casually. "None taken, but I do find myself at a disadvantage over what to call my own benefactor. I would ask if you are from the Abaddon house, but you seem to have a different symbol." Lord Phoenix responded as he curiously looked at the man. "I agree with Phoenix, I'd like to at least know who I'm going to thank for getting me out of that shithole." Lord Balaam gruffly added, "A simple thing to fix. In all honesty I'm mostly wearing this thing for appearance and because it helps morale," the man said in a surprisingly laid-back manner compared to the almost oppressive vibe he had been giving out since his arrival. Taking off his helmet, he revealed a strikingly handsome young man with chocolate-colored skin, wavy shoulder-length plum hair tied in a ponytail, and eye-catching green eyes which seemed to glow. "Although a bit late, I am Lith Azeroth, head and founder of House Azeroth. A pleasure to officially meet two distinguished lords such as yourselves," the young man politely greeted to the surprise of the two lords. While devils do not age much after maturing physically, their lifespans naturally being 10 feet 000 years long, it was easy enough to tell how old a devil is, and they both felt the young man truly was as young as he actually appeared. "Ha, to think I got my ass saved by a young'un like you. I must be getting old," the Lord Balaam heartily responded. "And to think a Phoenix was pulled out of the fire by an upstart. Dear me," Lord Phoenix almost playfully said as he dramatically passed his hand through his messy blonde hair. "The new must surpass the old eventually after all," Lith responded with a shrug. "I can still pound you young ones in the dirt even with one arm and leg," was the elder Balaam's response as he shook his one fist. "Whatever you say old man, but it's going to have to wait until a fly thinking it's a king is dealt with," Lith replied as he put on his helmet and looked towards an approaching devil. He could have killed at any time since Lith's space had already encompassed the entire battlefield. He had actually been making sure his men didn't die and were instead teleported to the healers once they were about to die. He could do it, so why not? This way they are getting experience without dying, improving for the times he would have to focus all his power on his opponent, which really isn't the case here. "How dare you useless brutes betray the great Satans?" shouted the fly in Lith's point of view. He was flying, buzzing around, from an annoying family and never stopped loving bullshit. "Your heads are so far up your own asses that you would kill us all for a war no one wants besides you. Then the so-called Satans attack me by surprise and force my house to fight their battles for them," retorted a clearly angry Lord Balaam. You should be honored to be used by true devils and serving your purpose. And tools who do not listen to their owners should be disposed of. The Beelzebub descendant said as if this was an absolute fact for him. Why are you even talking to this fool? Lith casually said. How dare you speak to me? You are not even a so-called noble, even less than a tool made for us true devils to use, but you dare speak to me like that. The completely offended, triggered, devil said as he glared murderously at Lith. To which Lith simply flicked his index towards the devil, creating a massive hole in his chest instantly. At least I am not a bug to be squashed with but a finger. Lith replied with contempt in his voice as the two lords beside him broke out in cold sweat at what they just saw. Although the devil in front of them was at still only high class, he was a descendant of a Satan, meaning even the Lord Balaam would find it somewhat annoying to deal with him as an ultimate class, while Lord Phoenix would eventually lose to him. To not even understand how the young man beside them instantly killed him was an indication of the power he wielded even if he never showed off his demonic power itself. It would seem the flirty forces are hastily retreating. A clear victory is in sight, Lith said as he did not care about the fool he had killed. Will you require any additional assistance to rebuild, take care of wounded or in case they return? I know you have Phoenix Tears but it would be better to keep your limited stock for a true emergency. Ah yes. Some help to treat the wound and make some emergency repairs while I hire the appropriate people would be most welcomed, Lord Azeroth. The Lord Phoenix said as he snapped out of the daze he had been seen the death of someone matching his strength seeming so easy. Truly the strong are the respected, thought Lith as Lord Phoenix addressed respectfully for the first time. I'll take some of that help too if you're offering, kid. The Lord Balaam said in a much more polite manner than before. My boys and that stupid son of mine probably hurt themselves during this foolishness. What happened to your spirit, old man? Of course I'll help you out. We need you for when we'll tear the Satans a new one so they can have another hole to shove their heads up after all. Lith responded as he teased the older man. Biwahaha, you're right, kid. Gotta learn how to do that one-handed for now too. Lord Balaam said as he went back to being boisterous. An hour later the fighting was completely done, with a turnaround victory for Phoenix. The flirty army which had fought was almost decimated after Balaam and Azeroth forces joined the fighting, with the only negative being House Flirty's descendants being allowed to escape by Lith. The others didn't need to know he could have killed pretty much everyone once he had his domain established, but he wished to make the word spread about a new player in the game. What came next was the treating of the injured and celebration of victory, especially for the Phoenix army which had gone through a grueling fight, not even caring that part of those who had attacked were with them. There was also an epic beatdown done by a one-legged and armed man of his son which was funny to watch. Lord Phoenix also put on a display about exactly how one uses money and connections by having builders and healers arriving a day after the fighting was over. By the time Lith had left for his lands the same way he had arrived, the entire underworld had heard about this new house which seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. __. Extra author note. First off, Lord Phoenix and his entire family were all said to be high class even 500 years from now, so I feel no shame writing him being matched by the heir of an ultimate class lord, who became that way because of his combat experience and natural power, since they are both high class and their natural advantages kinda canceling each other. The flirty weather manipulation was added in because I was trying to figure a family trait for them, and during some research there was a version of Flirty the demon with the ability. Next up, my vision of supernatural battles would be 3D, with ground and aerial forces competing using both magic and melee combat. I also believe that the territorial defenses would have stuff set up to prevent teleportation, up to a certain level, barriers to stop magical bombardments, and something which would stop devils from just flying by it. If they couldn't, then anyone could just wander into your land during war, and that would be stupid. Now about the Balaam, like I said in my previous extra author notes, they were forced to participate on the sides of the Satans, and I just felt like having those interactions for fun. So that's what happened. Easy way for Lith to get an ally. Next, the reason none of the aces teleported nearby and went to help is because it could have just made things worse by forcing the Satans to go there too, and everything would just cause a ton of deaths, while mass teleportation is impossible due to teleporting usually needing a relatively high level of skills in magic to use, and Lith being a very big exception to that rule. From what I know, the few means of mass teleportation involve Dimension Lost and maybe a top 10 member with powers related to it. So armies would have to travel through flight or some other mean of transportation. As far where we are chronologically in the war, the first major battle of the war and main offensive from the anti-Satan faction is currently being prepared, so about 5 months into the conflict. Also, I'm making most names up as I go along simply because all the wiki has on most of these people is just Lord this or Lady that. High School DxD, A New Satan Chapter 9. m.webnovel.com. A calm had swept through the underworld in the days following the attempt against House Phoenix for supporting the anti-Satan faction. All notable members of this conflict were doing their best to figure just who Lith Azeroth is and from where did his apparent house with an actual military force appear. And most pressingly, how strong is he truly? In the span of a few hours he had caused massive waves in the underworld by taking only 2 actions, instantly killing a Beelzebub descendant without 2 high-ranking lords even understanding how, and creating a portal from who knows where big enough to bring his army through. That second one was something most lords were much more concerned about than the first. But only Ajuka Astaroth realized that Lith Azeroth had apparently managed to harm a strong devil from a distance, without the use of a magic circle. He had made sure to question the 2 lords about this, and their answers confirmed that what this new Lord Azeroth had shown so far was most likely the tip of the ice. Unfortunately he had no true proof of this, hence he kept quiet and began trying to figure the young man out. Capital of the underworld Lucifod, Castle of Satans, Meeting Hall of the Four. Inside this oppressive meeting room stood a semicircular table with 4 intricately carved thrones representing each of the 4 Satans. This place is used for official meetings between Satans and is a place for them to hold audiences with other devils. But like it had basically been for the last 100 years, only 3 of the 4 seats had been filled, as the Lucifer title has always been rejected by its heir. So you mean to tell me some unknown trash killed a member of my family and those disgusting muscle heads betrayed us? A furious bidlead Beelzebub said towards the flirty commander who had led the assault on the Phoenix. He had done everything he could, but when one faces 3 armies suddenly attacking you and the arrival of 2 ultimate class threats, it becomes hard for a single high-class devil with an already tired army to do anything. Not that the Satans really cared about the army itself, only the loss of a true devil, and their face in the matter due to an unknown devil actually challenging their people. A random being lower than a tool had the gall to challenge the authority of the Satans. Now Bidlead, it's the not man's fault that those rock men betrayed us and he lost. Although pathetic, numbers can still overwhelm true devils after all, or else the so-called pillars would have served us no purpose. Sufame Leviathan said as she turned her attention to the very fearful man before them, but what do you have to say about this new toy? We do not know, Lady Leviathan. I've asked the other houses if they had ever seen the crest they used, but no one had an answer. The only clue was that he, or most likely his people, had the means to create a large enough portal to bring an entire army through. The flirty commander hurriedly explained as he very much wished to not anger the Satans and die. Is it the Abaddon? A slightly curious Demadosu Asmodeus asked, since their clan trait was whole after all. No, my lord Asmodeus. We checked and they do not possess such a powerful ability to create portals nor such an army. In fact, they actually stated to be ready to pledge their loyalty to the great Satans. The flirty commander answered quickly. He had in fact looked into things in the hopes of finding anything which could help his chances of receiving mercy. HMPH, as if those weaklings had any other option, Satan Beelzebub said as he was calling down. Yes, but for now, if you don't want to lose your head, find out everything about this new toy. I will take care of it afterward. We can't have such an attack go unanswered after all, Satan Leviathan said to the flirty commander as she dismissed him. The man didn't hesitate for a moment before hurrying out of the room, thankful for still being alive. You will move personally, Sufame. For an insect like this, a mildly surprised Satan Asmodeus said as he looked at the woman he has known for most of his life. Dear Lilith, no. I will send a few armies I command to exterminate whoever these pests are. She responded dismissively. I don't have the desire to squash every vermin in front of me after all. That's why we have our little servants. Then it seems we shall be leaving this matter in your hands, Sufame. But make sure to leave me that mongrel who killed my family member. Satan Beelzebub said as this concluded the biggest item on their agenda for the day. Castle Baal. In this meeting I would like to officially welcome Lord Balaam, who we had assumed had joined the Satans, but as we have discovered was being held prisoner while the Satans strong-armed his house. Lord Agaras said as he begun the meeting for the now named anti-Satan faction in a pleasant mood over the recent development. They had a victory, gained another house to their cause, caused some damages to the armies of the Satans, their own preparations were on schedule, and now there was the possibility for another if unproven ally. Present were many lords, but also the aces of the anti-Satan faction. Thanks for the welcome even though my son acted like that. The Lord Balaam said as he waved his only arm in thanks. How are you feeling, Mr. Turok? I know I asked Father's people to have help you, but you don't look any better. Seraphal asked in a slightly childish manner, but also compassionately. I'll be fine, lass, thanks for caring for this old man. Lord Balaam gently replied, since it felt nice for a girl like her to treat him well. Made him want a daughter or maybe a granddaughter if his good-for-nothing son could actually get a wife. Even a mistress would be due. As Lord Balaam thought about trying for a daughter with his wife or making his son get him a grandchild, the meeting continued. Let us not forget that it has been fortunate that Lord Phoenix can be with us safe and sound as well. Sirzex said as he did feel slightly guilty for not being able to assist the man in his time of need. Thank you, Sir Grimory, and although it became unneeded, I am still grateful to know that an army was still sent to assist. Lord Phoenix responded diplomatically. What he said was the truth, but it did also annoy him that they couldn't have sent a single ultimate ahead to at least contain the flirty commander who wreaked havoc while he had to deal with the Balams. But he was a merchant by nature and knew when it was appropriate to act. Speaking of our unneeded assistance, why are we to do regarding this helper of yours? Lord Agaras said as he brought up one of the scheduled topics for the meeting. I honestly cannot tell you, Lord Agaras. He clearly holds no love for the Satans as he directly stated them to be arrogant fools, but except for his young age and uncertain strength, I could find nothing regarding this Lith Azeroth. It is like he and his house appeared out of thin air. A slightly frustrated Lord Phoenix replied. The fact that he couldn't find anything regarding this new house frustrated him to no end. Even using his great network of connections and his massive wealth, he couldn't find anything. This actually impressed and scared him because the young man managed to accomplish much under everyone's noses and still remains hidden. Say, Mr. Rizal, how strong is he really? And how old? You said he was really young, questioned a rather curious Seraphal. It is not often that such a strong youth remained unknown until now. And from what she heard, he was said to be even younger than she and her new friends were. I cannot truly say, Lady Seraphal. Both myself and Lord Balaam believe he should be somewhere in his 20s, while our lowest estimate for his strength would be high ultimate class. Lord Phoenix truthfully answered the lively girl as he took no offense to her form of address. It is hard to get mad at the girl who brightens up these drab meetings and is usually very caring and honest. It also helps that her overwhelming power makes people think twice before taking anything she does personally. Ooh, really, you think he's gonna join us? It would be nice to not be the youngest anymore, the now excited Seraphal asked before her father managed to make her sit down. She blew her tongue out at him in response and pouted a bit as she remained seated. For now, a new ally would be welcomed, especially one who has already acted against the Satans, which does reduce the possibility of this being a trap to insert a traitor in our midst. But due to our failed attempts to even locate this Lord Azeroth, opening a dialogue has been rendered quite difficult if he does not approach us first. Ajuka Astaroth suddenly said as he grabbed the attention of those present. That's why I came, a smooth voice said from above everyone, making them instantly react to the intruder they had not sensed or detected this entire time. Even the four said to surpass the original Satans were shocked that someone had gotten so close to them without them knowing. Now, relax everyone. You wanted me, so here I am. The voice everyone could now see belonged to a handsome youth in fine black robes, matching the description Lords Balaam and Phoenix had given regarding this new Lord Azeroth. The only problem was that he had somehow infiltrated their own headquarters in one of the most heavily protected places in the underworld undetected, and that he was, strangely enough, standing on the ceiling as if it was the floor. Even his clothes and hair acted like the ceiling was in fact the floor. Ha, good to see you, young'un. Didn't tell us how to find you after you left last time. The energetic Lord Balaam said since he actually had a very good impression of the young lord. Yeah, didn't want the spies in your group to know where I am based. Nothing personal, old man, but my people suffered enough under the Satans and I can't really take them all on yet. The young Lord Azeroth said as he began walking towards one of the walls. Oh, and how would you know that we have spies in our faction? A slightly amused Ajuka asked as he found the younger man interesting. Because I have spies in your faction, he revealed casually as he began walking down a wall as if it was the floor. Had to make sure I wasn't replacing one evil for another should I support you after all. And if I managed to get some spies here, they definitely did. Some devils can be rather fanatical towards the Satans. The explanation left the Lords present feeling rather distressed. You need not concern yourself. We already identified most spies. The calm voice of Zekram Baal rung out for the first time this meeting as he carefully watched the young man who had successfully infiltrated his castle. Then as a sign of friendship, Lith began saying as he took out a scroll from somewhere in his robes, here's a list of all the spies I know about. May I see that scroll? Ajuka asked since he was the smartest person here and one of the two strongest. If the scroll was a trap he would most likely be safe. Sure, was the casual response as he threw it over to the Astaroth heir. Ajuka quickly and discreetly scanned it before carefully opening the scroll, while the rest waited in silence. Except Seraphal, who decided to take that opportunity to approach the young man while her father was distracted. Of course Lith felt her approaching, he could feel everything in the room, but he felt curious about this younger Seraphal. She was certainly her own kind of youthful beauty with a body which still surprised him with how well developed she is. Not the biggest shown in the series, but respectable in their own rights. Hey, she said as she poked Lith's side like some kind of naughty child. Yes, Miss Seraphal, Lith curiously asked. Are you going to join us against those egomaniacs? How strong are you? Are you really only 20? Where do you live? How do you just appear like that? Can you show me how to walk on the ceiling? How about the wall? Can you really create giant portals? She suddenly asked in rapid fire without giving Lith a chance to properly answer, well until she noticed what she was doing and blushed in embarrassment. Sorry, I got a bit excited. Father said I need to stop doing it. Meanwhile a commotion was happening as Ajuka went through the scroll Lith had given them with the other lords. Chuckle, well, it was rather adorable for someone such as yourself to get so excited, but as for your questions, probably, very, 24, secret, magic, maybe and yes. Lith replied as he fondly ruffled her hair. Hey, I'm the older one, I'm the one who get to ruffle hair. A playfully upset Seraphal announced as she drew the attention of a few people once they realized they had left a potential intruder to just wait there while one of their aces was with him. If you can even reach my head. What are you? 5 feet 2, 160 centimeters. I'm 6 feet 5, 196 centimeters. Lith teased as this riled up the future magical girl. I'll show you who's short, she said as she grabbed Lith's arm and pulled hard without realizing too late that she put too much strength into it. But to hers and all those who were watching their interactions, surprise, the pull of someone like Seraphal only made the large young man only stumble a bit, shocking them. That pull would have probably made an ultimate class slam into the floor. The reason for their shock is because for devils demonic power is considered everything for a reason. The stronger the demonic power and the more you have it, the strong the magical and physical you have. Now even though it might not give devils any sort of aesthetic change, one still gains incredible amounts of strength, speed, durability and endurance in correlation to their demonic power. Thus, seeing someone resist an accidentally serious pull for Seraphal Citri, a girl with enough demonic power to be said to rival the original Satans, it shocked them. Looks like you're still the short one. Lith teased with a roguish smile as Seraphal had fallen into a slight daze. Who's short? You're just a giant, she childishly countered as she regained her spunk, but with a small blush. Well then we match, I'm the handsome giant and you're the beautiful short girl, Lith heartily said as he took up his teasing a few notches. Not often one gets to tease a future Satan this adorable after all. Be beautiful, she stammered out as her blush completely covered her face now, almost letting smoke appear before her brain also processed the word short and pouted, I'm not short meanie. Looks like I might have teased a bit too much. Now her eyes are watering a bit as she pouts. Lith thought as he decided to use one of the best tactics to placate emotional girls, offer sweets. There, I'm sorry Seraphal, try these cookies my head chef made this morning, they're great. Lith gently said as a plate of shortbread cookies with various jams placed in their indentations appeared in his hands and he patted the girl's head soothingly. He had a lot of practice with head pats thanks to Sigil, Leora and surprisingly Fia. The pouty Serafal hesitantly took a cookie and tried it before her eyes lit up and she started to eat those cookies with great relish, softly moaning in a little squeal depending on the cookie. While this was happening, most of the lords were discussing the list of spies. Some were looking at the scene where a young devil who infiltrated Bale Castle and could resist the strength of one of their aces was just taming said ace. Lord Cetri was actually going through an internal crisis regarding his daughter and heir's behavior and letting a boy touch her so intimately, and Falbium was trying to sleep since he already knew what he would be doing with his responsibilities anyway. Fine, I forgive you, the Cetri princess said as her peppy attitude returned. But can I have the recipes so the chefs back home can make them? I can ask Leora. She's usually happy to share her recipes since it means more people can eat good food. He easily answered since Leora really was the nicest devil he'd met so far. Yay, she happily cried out as she did a little hop and hugged Lith. Serafal, Lord Cetri yelled out as his father's side won out on his lord's side. This was the first time Lith met the father of Serafal and later Sona, but he had the appearance of a strict middle-aged man with short black hair and blue eyes behind a pair of glasses. Eat, the startled Serafal cried out as she hid behind the nearest large object, which this time happened to be Lith himself. She did not want another scolding. Even though she was technically over 60, that is almost insignificant for a devil and she had always been childish and free as a person, resulting in many scoldings. And although she is much stronger than her father, she never thought of running away or arguing with him because she knew he scolded her out of love. If he didn't care he wouldn't even bother. Meanwhile Lith was stuck between a little troublemaker and a surprisingly protective father. It's good to meet you Lord Cetri. I respect you a lot for your efforts as Lord to ensure everyone is able to receive the medical care they need. I also believe your creation of the Healers Academy to be of vital importance to the underworld as a whole. Lith said politely as he honestly praised the man. Ahem, thank you Lord Azeroth. It is always good to hear your work being appreciated even though most of the credit would go to the healers. Lord Cetri replied humbly as he regained his bearings. More than appreciate Lord Cetri. A number of the healers currently in my employ actually learned in your academy and were instrumental in helping many of those who came to me for a better life. Living in the territories of the Satans or some of the Lucifer Six can be unforgiving after all. Praised Lith as he thought about some of the refugees in his lands. Although they have chosen to work outside our lands, it is good to hear those men and women doing good for others. Lord Cetri said with a trace of pride in his voice. Meanwhile Serafal was peeking from behind Lith's large frame as he completely made her father forget about her, becoming engrossed in the conversation regarding possible cooperations between Cetri and the newly emerged Azeroth, who no one actually knew where it was or what it contained. She was kind of impressed by how the younger man could make her father forget about her admittedly inappropriate behavior. Yes, she knew that the way she acted wasn't proper, but it never felt right to stop herself from doing so and she liked how Lith treated her like a normal person. It didn't feel like she had to be Lady Serafal Cetri, the heir of House Cetri, one of the aces of the anti-Satan faction, or anything else other than Serafal. Plus his head pats did feel nice. Serafal absent-mindedly thought as she remembered how big and warm his hand felt. So you've been taking in refugees. That is quite admirable Lord Azeroth. One Sears X Grimoire suddenly said as he approached the trio with a calm smile. Is there any way I can help? I saw firsthand how the Satans treat other devils and I would like to help. I've heard that your land produces many products sold across the underworld. How much clothing could you sell? Lith asked in response. He knew the offer was genuine because that was the type of man Searsex was, so he answered truthfully. There has been a larger influx of refugees and settlers, but because he had to prioritize war preparations, the production of day-to-day things had started to fall behind. This was simply because he did not have enough people working on producing such things. Once the refugees could actually start working, then he could fix the problem, but by the time he settled a group, another would have arrived. So although it doesn't fix things yet, having warm and clean clothes could go a long way. We should have ample, but if you are handling refugees, I believe tents and blanks would also be useful. The Grimoire heir answered as he began to think about what he could do to help. Shelter we can handle for now, but blankets would be good. Lith replied. Has there been any sort of outbreaks amongst refugees? Curses even, a serious Lord Cetri asked as he knew that even devils had their sicknesses. Luckily our preventative measures have been enough to stop anything from spreading. The young lord answered, which relieved Lord Cetri. I'll talk to my father about sending the clothes and blankets. Sirzek then said as he grew committed to take action. That will be helpful. We can discuss prices later. Lith acknowledged. I can't possibly charge you for this. Sirzek said as his kind heart reared its head. You can and will. If you wish you can use the money to help others afterwards. I sternly replied, to which he was mildly surprised but accepted. Do let me know if House Finex can also provide any services. We are well connected after all, and if you're willing to pay, all the better. Lord Finex suddenly said as he approached the little group alongside the hoping Lord Balaam. Hey there young'un, quite the way to make an entrance. A happy Lord Balaam said as he shook hands with Lith. I live to impress old man. He responded as he turned to Lord Finex. While I appreciate the offer, some of my high-level troops would benefit from some Phoenix tears, but I know supplies are stretched due to the war. I'm certain I could find some to spare for pulling me out of the fire. Lord Finex said with a slightly smug smile. Then I can thank you on their behalf. Lith politely replied as this would be good news for when he would have to fight Satan classes. The group involving 3 of the most powerful individuals in the underworld and some of the most influential, continued until Zekram Baal, Ajuka and the others finished going over the information I had handed over to them, as well as confirmed some of it by ordering some subordinates around. It would seem at least some of this information is accurate, young Lord Azeroth. But what do you seek to gain from this little show? A serious Zekram asked as all eyes focused on the young devil who proclaimed himself a lord and had shown at least some proof that he deserved the title. A safe place for the weak, hurt, rejected and betrayed. Under my rule and protection. The Satans would have us all die in pursuit of an unattainable goal which is not even their own. I will not have it. Give me this and fight against their genocidal ways and I will be your ally. Lith declared as he answered the old devil. You wish for a hybrid like yourself to become a lord? Zekram questioned not out of malice, but genuine curiosity. He might be a traditionalist, but he knew the young man could be a powerful tool and ally. But many lords instinctively felt antagonistic towards the idea, only keeping quiet because of some of the power he had displayed assuring his strength. Yes, my people accept me already as their lord and I will continue leading them whether any of you like it or not. Lith stated confidently as he stated down a room full of lords. I think it's okay. The sole female present calmly stated from behind the young man. He's strong enough and can do things no one else can, like his walking on the wall and ceiling like he did, plus his ability to bring entire armies from afar is already a technique which probably surpasses House Abaddon. I have never heard of anyone achieving this with existing magics, so he at least has something unique to pass down. He surpasses any lord here in strength. He has his own army, land and people, so all he's really missing is the official rank which he can earn by fighting with us. The calm breakdown coming from Seraphal was surprising for pretty much anyone who wasn't Lord Cetri and Lith. They had only known the happy and bubbly side of the girl, but they forget that an enormous amount of work had to be put in to reach where she had through pure magic. Sure, she had a great advantage thanks to her familial affinity with water, but to be able to match people like Falbium who was born with his absolute defense, Sirzek who at birth held more power than any other holders of the power of destruction, Ajuka who underwent an awakening in his calculating abilities which was so ridiculous that he created his Kankara formula, and the Satans born with incredible power, she had to work, study and train very hard. I agree, his birth was not in his control, but his achievements are. Sirzek added quite nobly. Bah, look at you cunts judging the kid. He's more of a devil than all of you. Lord Balaam said as he jumped in. Do you happen to have some things you can sell outside your territory? Lord Finex asked suddenly. Yes, we actually received a great number of House Satanich's smiths and a clan of Nordic dwarves came under my banner as well. Lith answered with the only industries which would actually be ready immediately after the war. The rest would need time and work. Excellent, then I believe you'll be quite alright as a lord. Most have less than what you have even after a few centuries. Lord Finex said as he jabbed at those not particularly pleased with Lith wanting to be a lord. This young devil certainly seems to know what he has been doing already, and if my daughter would stand up for him then I believe I shall as well. Lord Cetri calmly stated. Although my son can be too kind, he does have a remarkable eye for talent just like his mother. I believe we can permit this should he prove worthy during the coming campaign. Zeoticus Grimori diplomatically said as he did add the possibility of this not happening to ease the more traditional devils. He himself was quite traditional regarding ideas of pure blood, but when someone who is so young and has already surpassed some ultimate class devils already, then it is wise to make positive connections with such a person. At least he is a devil and it's not like they are talking about a fallen angel or anything. The Cetri heiress claims your techniques could be passed on to future generations. Would this be accurate? Zekram Bale questioned as he faced a surprising number of supporters for a young devil most had just met. Yes, my abilities will be passed on to my children, Lith answered with certainty. Even if they didn't immediately awaken, he could always free the ability from within them. Then I will make you this deal as the head of this faction. You will be permitted to become lord of the lands you hold in exchange for your active support and participation during our fight against the Satans. In addition, you will be required to marry a pure-blooded devil to ensure your ability is passed down properly. Do you agree? The old Baal said as he spoke in a tone stating this was his only and final offer. I agree, Lith replied with certainty. Then I welcome you to the anti-Satan faction, Lord Lith Azeroth. Zekram declared as he let none question his decision. Somewhere in the capital of Lucifod. How interesting must it be to be a trailblazer, a man said as he sat in a barely lit room, reading some news on the appearance of a new house. I wish I had purpose like this, but I guess life will continue to be dull. The man continued as peered out of his window. Time to leave this boring place. Blank, _ blank. Extra author notes. Regarding Seraphal. She's a good girl who works really hard, even in the series. She deserves head pats and cookies. On another note, I do genuinely believe Seraphal might be the Satan who had to work the most to reach her level of power. She used the Cetri House's talent in water magic to push herself far further than any other Cetri before her and became a boss bitch. As for how the lords treated Lith, Balaam actually likes him because he rescued him, got his house out from under the Satans and gets along well with him. He also appreciates the very well-developed body Lith has, which shows off a dedication to train himself physically. Phoenix sees this as possibly mutually beneficial as he gains access to a supplier for expertly made metal goods and at least a decent relationship with a strong lord. It also helps repay the debt of being rescued. Cetri supports his daughter since he knows that under her upbeat personality and compassion, she is an incredibly intelligent and empathetic girl who can understand people very well. He also likes that someone had similar views as himself regarding his work to improve the qualities of healers. Grimory believes that Lith has great potential and that they won't actually lose anything by letting him keep what he already has while letting him fight for them. And should he manage to significantly contribute, Lith will become a strong figure in what comes after the overthrowing of the Satans. Zekram is said to be a very traditionally minded devil with great respect for the original Satans, but he is also open-minded and intelligent. If he saw someone with powers estimated to be between Ultimates and Satans while very young, I believe he would compromise while also getting a way to have a positive relationship with him for the future. He did it with Issei when suggested he become a Satan. He can do it for someone who just wants to be recognized as an official lord.